Hello. Hi guys, super chill day today, and I know Ron. Casting you to your TV, Melinda. It's the worst because today is, I have no plans, I have no prep, I have no nothing. And Ron's gonna ask why I hate him because of course I specifically started streaming so that the notifications wouldn't go off. It's a chill friend chat today. We're gonna talk about whatever you guys want. I'm gonna play a lot of music. I'm very down tempo, I'm sure you have noticed. Because it's been a rough week for me, pain-wise and just activity-wise, things going on around the blockchain. Not a lot of sleep, not a lot of, hey, Solo, not a whole lot of anything. So I thought I was gonna cheat today and I would still make everything go live. We'd have a lot of fun, but not kind of an official show. So there's a good chance that if I don't tweet, that almost no one will know that the show is live today, which is both good and bad. But I thought, you know what? Let's kind of, let's take advantage of a chill weekend and a lot of downtime in the crypto space and a lot of quietness in our Discords and everywhere. I don't know if you guys have noticed, it's been quiet. And I thought, okay, yeah, you know what? That's the jam for me. So I see a lot of you guys are tuning in. I'm so glad to have you. Hey, Schmoogle! Hey, congrats! I saw you are you're up and running on the test net, and lots of good things are happening. Marky is here. Play some good rock and roll. Jonathan Carter, my darling. I don't do that on Saturdays, so I'm gonna disappoint you. And that is the name of the game. My name is Crimsonclad, and in general, every time I do a live radio show or a live stream, I'm going to disappoint you. So, if you can accept that and just embrace the disappointment in your heart, then that'll be great. You're going to be so stoked. If you don't do that, well, it's going to be sad. So I'm definitely going to play a bunch of synthwave today. There have been so many great releases. There's so much stuff going on in the synthwave world. And there actually is, I was thinking I'd probably play some of the new Perturbator, which is maybe not metal, maybe not post-punk, maybe you should ask for anything. Oh, I've got a sass monster over on YouTube. Fair enough. That's true. I did say that. I didn't mean it, though. I lied to you. I lied to you to get here. I completely misrepresented what today's show was going to be about. So, anyways, last week we talked a whole lot about Hive. We talked about the upcoming Hive hard fork. We talked a little bit about all of the aspects and features that would be happening with that. I invited a bunch of other witnesses and core developers. Marky came on, and everybody wanted to talk about that, and it was a bumpin' show, and there were, 70-something people in and out, and it was great. It was awesome. This week, I thought, let's just not do any of that. So here we are. So yeah, I've got some topics that I was thinking of touching on today, but in terms of it being a really good, heavy tech, knowledge-centric day, nah. It's not gonna happen. And I'm okay with it if you're okay with it. So there's definitely some stuff I want to play. I was thinking I'm going to play some Absolute Valentine, some FM Attack, maybe Lavenu, DMK. I've got a bunch of stuff that I want to do. But in general, it's open season on whatever you guys want to talk about. It's been, for me, kind of fix-it time around the house. And so, there's nothing more low-tech, I guess, than DIY stuff. Making Stuff wasn't here this morning, but he does sort of a great joining of fresh new technology and sort of old world ideals, finding ways to adapt technology to take yourself off the grid. Oh, John, I didn't realize that was you. Okay, well, you can pester wherever you want. That's fine. There are many Johns. And all of them are mine. But so, for me, this last week, it has been 50-50, chasing people for the hard fork, working on things for the Hive hard fork, and 50% working around my house and working on very non-technical DIY things. In the last week, there has been woodworking and fabric staining and landscaping, in general, fucking about with the house, and I am exhausted. I have wiped myself out. But I was thinking I would talk a little bit today, or at least we could kind of talk a little bit about some of our favorite bio-future kind of designs. Because one thing we talk about a lot on this show, when I do have a good plan and I do have great prep and I've done everything to entertain you, is we talk a lot about the design aesthetic of the future. And we talk about this weird space where how every time we kind of cast our minds forward into whatever is going to be the gleaming, white, technological, beautiful, insane future that we're creating, it has a very specific aesthetic. And for a long time, at least the last decade, it's been sort of completely taken over by the Apple aesthetic. Everything is white, everything is clean, everything is Spartan, everything is, I hate to say it, a little bit soulless. And that's not my jam. Can you say something? Of course you could say something. It's an open forum. You're probably going to say a whole bunch of stuff about weed and YouTube and Hive and all sorts of things. And all of those topics are welcome. Have at it, Fox. we can go down whatever rabbit hole the listeners want to go down to today. That's totally fine. But for me, you could see my aesthetic is probably pretty eclectic and a lot of plants. And the more that I've kind of been drawn to this week is the idea of bringing nature indoors, because we know that we are in a world that is being increasingly shaped by globalization. We have less space that we can take up, especially in urban centers. We have a diminished interaction with nature. And this is not pointing at any of you in particular, but just this is the general trend humanity is taking. And so we're always trying to find ways to bring plants from outside or nature from outside and bring it in because we need it. We're so incredibly connected to it. And when you look at the aesthetics, I'm diving right in, eh, Fox? When you look at the aesthetics that we connect to, and you look at the items and the artwork and the entertainment and the leisure that we consume, it's all yes, it's the globalist. It's all sort of this attempt to bring the outdoors in, and I for one am I'm no exception, right? I mean, my house is full of plants. If I could find more plants, ways to put more plants in, plants. You know, like that's my particular jam. But there's a lot of really cool technology out there these days that I think is really interesting, because a lot of us aren't necessarily going to own huge plots of land. Huge tracts of land. And so this is something that I'm noticing is coming up a lot. And so I thought we could talk a little bit. I need a garden. Well, good. I'm glad you told me that I do. I have one, so that's helpful. But that doesn't mean I can't bring plants into my house either. I grow vegetables. I grow herbs. I don't have very much lawn, and the lawn space that I do have poison ivy vibes. Yes, I am a crazy plant lady. Like 1,000% a crazy plant lady. There are no words for the amount of plants that live on my desk or around my personal space at any given time. Like, for real. Here, this guy can come hang out with us today. Okay, so is it, I'll just do this. Well, this will be my jam today. But no, I mean, this is something that I am especially seeing a lot in the NFT world. Of course, we've seen the last little bit. But the last little bit is this whole, how are blockchains impacting nature? We're killing the planet, yada, yada, yada. Energy consumption. This is the newest bugaboo in the blockchain space. I hate this. I wish I had never done this. Forget it. It's a bad idea. We're taking it back. Okay, so, I thought we'd talk a little bit about this today because it's very topical and everybody's proclaiming everything's dead again. It's been one of those weeks where it's, Bitcoin is dead, NFTs are dead, synthwave is dead, everything is dead, and we love to proclaim that. So I thought, okay, you know what, let's hit on some of these topics because this is fun. Yeah, right? Get the fuck out of here. It's a terrible idea. I regretted it the second I did it. So I thought we could bring up some of the cool sort of future design, incorporating nature into future tech, planning for architecture. We are bringing, it's definitely not dead. We could talk a little bit about BitConf Miami if you want. It looks like a great time. I hate Florida with a passion. But yeah, so we could talk some about that as well. I know there is some fun heckling that's been going on because Jack from Twitter is there. There's lots of topics that we could pick up today. But I kind of wanted to share a little bit about some of the stuff that I'm finding for like urban indoor gardening or these sort of weird wacky inventions to bring plants inside to make it easier, because not everybody's good with plants, and that's okay. If you believe Ron, then you'll know that I kill all my plants with Munchausen by proxy so they can't leave me. That sort of thing. Hey Eileen, good to see you. This is the very secret stream today, so for those of you who are watching, you are the inner echelon. I did not actually send out any notifications because I'm a jerk and I didn't prep today's show. So we're just sort of, it's a chill chat between friends here today. We're not doing the full official CyberBuzz. So, it's cool, but we're here. We're making it happen. So yeah, I mean, we can definitely go down. There's a couple of branches already that you guys want to talk about in terms of Twitter versus Hive and Twitter Bitcoin, and then energy consumption in the tech world, and sort of that becoming the next new big scary boogeyman in the space, right? And it's obviously been going on for a couple weeks, so this is nothing new. But the reality is it's always interesting to see a couple weeks on, is that fear that has been drilled into people, is that big concern, does it stick? Because anytime that an established power structure is scared of an up-and-comer, they will try and find a topical argument to discredit that up-and-comer, right? So in this case, crypto, Bitcoin, ETH, NFTs, specifically blockchain. Well, at first it was, only criminals use it, nobody can access it, it's really too difficult, nobody's heard of it. And the only criminals use it didn't stick, it didn't work. And so then they pushed a little harder and they were trying for new angles, and big banks said Bitcoin's dead. I think Bitcoin's been dead, 47 times now? Something like that. And then, now we've seen arguably we're sort of in the dip of another awesome bull run. And here we are. People are starting to look for new arguments to try and stop the momentum. And the new argument is, climate change, energy usage, and a bunch of these sort of topics. Yes, thank you. 400 plus times. My estimate was off by a factor of 10. Bitcoin's been declared dead 400 plus times. Delightful, isn't it? 416 times to be exact. Thank you, Solo. But none of that worked. None of it stuck. And so now it's, what's something that's important to people that is big enough to be scary and difficult enough and ephemeral enough of a concept that it's hard for an individual to quantify. Well, that's energy usage. And so we know, we've talked about it on this show, one of the biggest things that's been happening recently is, NFTs, you made an NFT and it used up enough energy to power a jumbo jet flying around the world 17 times. And, that killed 7,000 trees, and you should feel bad about everything you do in life forever. And it's kind of like, yeah. And you know what? It's true, Marky. In most cases, and especially for Bitcoin and proof of work and these sort of escalating mining companies, they are looking to capture waste energy. So, I mean, we could talk this all day probably, but to me it just was a great sort of intersection of all the things that this show is about. We talk a lot about blockchain, we talk about disruptive tech, we talk about the retro future, and a lot of these aesthetics are kind of combined into a space where right now the terrifying FUD is, for every NFT, for every transaction, for every Bitcoin that goes out in the world, you're killing the planet. And it is really interesting to see how each time crypto or disruptive technology. And, crypto is just the current disruptive technology, one of the current disruptive technologies. But every time there is something that has been invented anew that starts to threaten the existing technological or the existing power structure, you gotta FUD it. You have to FUD it, especially if your own business depends on it. And so there is this very, thanks, Fox. There's this very sort of effective, incredibly effective argument right now being made about energy and blockchain and that sort of intersect, shall we say. And it's interesting to me to see how effective it is. In one way, it's really heartening because, you know what? We could stand to be a little nicer to our planet. 1,000%. We could always stand to be better to the planet. And so it gives me hope that so many people care about it. The part that makes me a little less hopeful is how few people actually think very critically about it. And that's something that we talk about on this show a lot too, is we know that entrenched social media and entrenched news outlets and sort of these large avenues for communication globally tend to set people's mindset around how they feel. You know what I mean? How do you know what I think until I hear what somebody else has to say? And so, unfortunately, right now, we are seeing this incredible media push that is probably driven by big banks, by big government, by entrenched power structures who are concerned that blockchains are going to kill the planet. And if you have even looked at a Doge, that you are public enemy number one. And it's a fascinating thing. Crim, how old are you? I love this. John popped a meme in chat that says, never ask a woman her age, a man his salary, or a Canadian that happened to the natives. Yeah, and that's rough. This is one of those things where if I say, hey, this show isn't about that, then people will be like, you're denying history. I've long said that, Canada is far from perfect. And we have this problem that we love to tell other people, well, we're so great. And especially we like to say, well, compared to the US, we're awesome. And, we have a lot of troubles at home. And our history with the natives here is a bad one. And residential schools are awful. And what I will say, and the only thing to avoid us from getting totally off track and turning this show into something that it's not, is that the only thing I've really ever agreed with Trudeau about is that every single one of those residential school locations should be surveyed and should be dug up. And Canada as a whole needs to know exactly what was done and own up to it. We can't fix it, but we very much need to acknowledge it. That's all. It's for a long time. A lot of people have been saying, yeah, but you've no idea what was done to us. And the reality is we don't, and we can't. So the only way we can do that is, face up to it. Go do the work, face up to it. So yeah, I will say for one time, I agree with Trudeau. So that's not what this is about. Crim, how old are you? I will be turning 36 years old this year. Hey, everybody is starting to hop in now. I thought I could keep the show a secret. We are meandering today. We are meandering through topics. We are rambling through topics. But I thought the rough overarching theme of today, to keep it easy, take it easy. We're going to listen to some cool synthwave. We're going to listen to some new releases. We're going to hang out. We're going to chat. You, me, everybody here. But we're mostly talking about sort of the intersect between technology, and especially like retro future blockchain technology, and nature, and how we're constantly seeking one and developing the other, and always trying to bring them closer together. Because at the end of the day, we're just, what is it? We're plants with complex emotions. So that's what we're going to do. But if you guys have topics that you want to touch on, we can even do some open mic today if you have some thoughts on this. Because one of the things that kind of touched this all off this week is I've been doing some gardening. I've been building some planter boxes in my backyard, stuff like that. I'm rocking a bunch of homegrown mint in my very large gin and mint today. Don't judge the size of my gin and mint. But so one of the things that keeps coming up is because I'm constantly, obviously, searching for supplies that I need, and I try to buy them here at the co-op in town, but we are in that globalist age where you can get anything delivered at any fucking time comes straight to you. And of course, that intersection, look at that little cat, that intersection of tech and watching what I do in collectible data profiles, because that's a big thing. Hi to everybody who's watching, by the way. I see the numbers are ticking upwards. You sneaky bastards have found me, even though I've kept today very much on the chill. Is that we forget how interconnected information collection is. And in a lot of cases we go, Facebook, it's stealing my information, and my cell phone, it's listening to me, and, you know, all this stuff. Hey, yes, Mojito Mint. I've got 2 big pots of it up my front walk. But a lot of this is really, it's completely harmless, and it's completely something that isn't as nefarious as you think, but the overarching implications of it are wild. And so, you know, we forget that, well, hey, you know what? I happened to look up on my phone, did the local Home Depot have the cedar fence panels that I wanted? And then I had my phone in my pocket when I went to Home Depot, and that location data is turned on. And so, you know, now Home Depot knows that 3 hours ago I checked their stock status, and, you know, 20 minutes ago I walked into the store and I actually stood in the store in front of the cedar panels. But on my way out, I stopped for 10 minutes in the whatever, knitted tea cozy section. And so now Home Depot, the next time I come, or the next time I get a targeted ad from them, they're going to say, well, here's a person who is interested in knitted tea cozies. And so in a lot of ways we go, it's listening to my conversations or whatever. And we forget that a lot of the basic information that we give data collection companies is not in any way nefarious. We just don't think about how easy it is to draw conclusions when you have a really large data set. So yeah, I mean, there's lots of things we could talk about today. Yeah, Marky's saying TikTok just started to collect biometric data. Now, I'm not a TikToker, and we've talked a lot about Snap on this show, AR, VR, augmented reality, anything with a camera. I'm slightly nervous about, because it is, you're constantly pointing something at your voice print, at your face. And, you know, in the vast majority of cases, nobody's going to care enough to make a deep fake of you. Unless you're me, in which case there will be so many deep fakes and they'll all be really offensive in a loving way. But you are helping to train other programs. And that's the scary part. You're not necessarily individually a target. And a lot of people are fine with it. That's what they say. I have nothing to hide. I'm not a target. And that's, yeah, okay. But what you are doing is you're helping to train a bigger, scarier machine. And that part is where maybe we need to be a little more conformed on what we're opting into or what we're opting out of. So, all right, you've got a 3090. Well done, Solo. Did you trade, did you have a firstborn child to trade for that? I'm looking for a 3090 myself, to be quite honest. All right, so listen, we're already like 20 minutes into the show, and I've basically said nothing at all. My name is Crimsonclad. It's CyberBuzz Radio, and this is a live stream that I do. It's somewhere between live radio. It's somewhere between podcast and, you know, live Twitch stream. And every week we talk a little bit about technology. We talk about the retro future, the vibes of, you know, the 80s mashed with the tech of, you know, the aughts, and this weird place that we find ourselves in, and a soundtrack to go with it, which is synthwave. So I have loosely shaped today's show around that intersection of technology and nature. And where I was originally going to go with this, before we hit every tangent, like we always do, was that I've been building some planter boxes, and so a lot of the things that are coming up in my connected digital world are smart planters and smart plant solutions. So I don't know if this is a pandemic thing, which, since I've got quite a few of you here, even though we were trying to keep it sneaky, have you noticed if you're spending more time indoors because of this whole pandemic thing, which a lot of people are, if you're working from home or you're not going out as much, if you're spending time indoors, are you finding that you are inviting more green friends to spend your space or to share your space with you. I'm not necessarily talking about weed, but maybe, yeah, I mean, that counts. But if you are, how are you with plants? Is this one of those things where you've just decided every time you go to the grocery store, you're going to bring one of those little herb guys home and cross your fingers and hope for the best? Or have you found that you are trying to green up your space because of all of this? Have you found an increase in your sort of nature needs and wants? Because, we all are just plants. I think anyways, we're all just house plants ourselves. We need a lot of water and we have complex emotions. But otherwise, yeah, we're a plant. Well, for me, because I've been even more sort of connected to trying to work on my green spaces, I have been seeing all sorts of wacky ideas. These click and grow pod planters, smart lighting, moisture meters, app connected, and it's fascinating. It's utterly fascinating that these things exist because in general, fuck the indoor plants. I live in a park, literally. Oh, okay. Is that the idea that you're homeless? Because in that case, good job for you. That works. That totally works. Oh, yeah. Solo has added a few hundred plants to his property, and you've been doing some cool landscaping and lighting work and stuff too. And you got your bees going wild. Fox spends literally an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours every day mowing his lawn. But I'm more talking about the indoor space because, of course, the show is a little bit tech-oriented. And there's some wild stuff out there. I am seeing everyone and their dog is now offering some sort of Wi-Fi connected smart home application, water on the go, watch your plant from a camera in the app, moisture meter because you're too stupid to know when to water something. It's kind of wild. There's this huge intersect of tech to help us because in a lot of cases, and again, most of you in here are not, that's more what I thought, John. Most of you are completely normal people. Hey, Addicted, good to see you, man. Completely normal people, and many of you are very talented with plants. So just take what I say as a general you. We've lost touch with how to grow shit. We're not very good at it anymore. We go down to the store, there's a landscaper that comes, whatever. And so there's this weird resurgence now of us trying to grow things. And it turns out a lot of us are really, really bad at it. And the only way that we can see in our minds to correct this is to invent more gadgets. It's fucking weird, man. One half of us is saying, God damn you, Bitcoin, you're murdering every tree in existence. And the other half of us is saying, we need more trees, quick, build some plastic crap in China and help us grow trees because we're bad at it. We're such an interesting, fucked up species. All right, listen. Let's play some music. I've been rambling at you. We will go down whatever path you want to go down today. But this is sort of what I want to talk about today because it's chill. It's just you and me and we're hanging out. Nobody knows that CyberBuzz is on today. But yeah, so let's... How does Bitcoin murder plants? Yeah, you might have missed the first part. We were talking a little bit about how the FUD over this last year specifically, they've been looking for more relevant problems to tie Bitcoin to. Because before it was Bitcoin is only for criminals. Well, now it's Bitcoin, blockchain tech. It is the tech that is using all of that nasty energy and it is direct. I mean, Bitcoin is basically just punching a hole in our atmosphere right now. And this is something that they are taking, a scary ephemeral concept. They're taking something that pretty much everyone believes, which is like, hey, nature is nice. We should have more nature. And being like, well, you know what Bitcoin won't let you have? Nature. That's scary. So you're against tech to help you grow plants? No, not at all. But I think it's really interesting because as a species, we suck at nuance. We absolutely suck at it. It tends to be all in or all out. So you've got people who are like, I'll never use a machine. And they're like this magical, incredible creator goddess that just like blows on something and then there's a field of flowers. Or it's somebody who lives in, again, inside that weird apple white shiny dome that has like, you know, little white pods floating around that are growing plants because the outside is yeah, exactly, inertia, because outside is now the post-apocalyptic wasteland and no one can eat, so you live in this perfect glowing white, you know, spaceship pod, and all around you is technology growing your plants for you. I'm just saying, we suck. We're nowhere in the middle. I'm absolutely not against tech because it's really incredible how we've been able to expand our food production wise. I don't want to go down the road of like GMO, Monsanto chemical aspects, but the actual tech aspects in terms of lighting or in terms of cool hydroponics and things like that, aeroponics. Yeah, very cool. It's a topic. Don't ever assume on this show that I'm for or against anything unless I yell, I fucking hate or I fucking love. It's a lot of talking on this show. Not a whole lot of conclusions. It's magic like that. It's how I keep getting you to come back. But I mean, again, a lot of the things that I end up doing in my house is just propagating plants in water all the time. Which, you know, when you think about it, it's not intelligent to keep a container full of water on top of your PC at all times. But, you know, nobody's ever accused me of being intelligent. And I'm certainly not going to help them start. My name is Crimsonclad. This is CyberBuzz Radio. Today has turned into a ridiculous friend chat about blockchain and nature and Bitcoin and plants and technology to help us grow it and FUD because Bitcoin is dead, synthwave is dead, NFTs are dead, the planet is dead. We're all dead. In fact, I'm pretty sure the Bitcoin FUD has even moved away from energy consumption and is now just Bitcoin will kill us all. I think I read the other day is that's the new FUD. The new FUD is like, we're all going to die. They can't even, at this point, they've run out of great ideas. So, if you don't mind, let's play a little bit of music. Let's play. Oh, Lordy. Let's play a little bit of music, and we'll come back and we'll chat about whatever you guys want to talk about. If any of you want to talk, that's great too. If not, then you're going to keep listening to me wax poetic on all of the things that have been sort of coming up in my radar as I have been working on greenifying my spaces. It has been a long, tiring week. I am working on my pain management and my sleeping, and a lot of that has been disrupted by Hive because whatever else is new. And so, yeah, so today is a chill plant talk with friends and music. Let's see what I have that I have pulled out for you guys to listen to. Do I have anything? Yeah, you know what? I've got a really super 80s style track. It's new from Jordan F., who in probably my very unofficial estimation is one of the really 80s centric synthwave sort of creators. In the time that I have been in sort of the synthwave space and listening to the music, Jordan F. creates the sound that to me is everything that synthwave embodies, which is, it sounds like the 80s, but it's hopeful and bright for a future where we're all waiting for flying cars, but we also are having, you know, these wholesome interactions down at the local cafe over a milkshake. It's a weird fucking space, man. Synthwave is strange like that. It's either all Blade Runner or all sort of this strange amalgamation of returning to the 50s with crazy, you know, 2000s future tech, and that's what the 80s kind of met at. So let me play you guys something by Jordan F., and then we'll come back, we'll chat a little bit more about whatever you guys want to. Thanks for showing up. I was trying to keep today's show pretty quiet because I figured it would be terrible. But for those of you who come hang out, we always have a lot of fun. Your questions, your comments, your presence amplifies the show, and I would be absolutely nothing without you. I would be a plant with no sunshine. Or no technology, maybe. Yeah, there you go. Brand new Jordan F. It's off an album called Eurowave, which I have to admit, yeah, that kind of makes sense to me. Late 80s, you know, driving with the top down, except your convertible is a flying car. And Inertia's here saying, I was promised flying cars. Yeah, I know, Schmoogle. Okay, so I have been actually working on the Vim stuff. So let's take a quick detour before we continue talking about today's topic. A rough topic. Before we do, we'll quickly address this. So Vim TV, I am trying to kind of create it as the central point of my streaming stuff. I have a website coming for this particular show. I have a main Crimsonclad website coming. There's a placeholder now already. But so I did not make a post for today's show. Like I said, today, my pain management has not been awesome this week. And so my prep for today's show, not as good as it could be. So still, there's a lot of you here, and I totally appreciate it. And we're having fun. I hope I can entertain you. Me and my 12 jillion plans. Talking about tech and nature today. But yes, you're right. I did not make a post, so you cannot upvote me. I'm a dick. I don't have anything past that. However, I have been creating more autocrat. Don't share that shit in here. Get that trash off the screen. I have a couple of things that have to get done before I can truly focus on some of this stuff. Cool! I love it. And I love that you use the perfect Star Trek UI design. I swear, it's such a classic. It's beautiful. But yeah, so there's a couple things that I have to focus on before I can finish up a lot of these things. And that is Hive Hard Fork, NFT Showroom has some big visual updates coming. All of that, hopefully, in the next couple weeks. So then past that, I know. And actually, Schmoogle, you got to teach me how to get my custom emotes. I don't know. So I've been giving a lot of feedback to the Vim team, and a lot of my streaming efforts are going to be focused around Theta and Vim going forward. But today, I'm an asshole. And you know what? I make a lot of posts, and I do really well, and I'm hashtag blessed in the content creation realm. So for this week, I thought I'll just skip it. I'll just skip it. Sorry. All right. So for the first part of today's show, I'm just talking a little bit about the intersection of technology and nature and future design. And in a lot of cases, how there is this weird space where Bitcoin and blockchain and crypto and energy consumption and how that impacts nature. That's our new Bermuda Triangle of FUD and misery in terms of what normies see. On the inside of it, of course, we know that every day there's more and more innovation in this space to capture, waste energy. In a lot of cases, you're going to find mining rigs are, around places where there are, gas that can be burned off and powering, or solar collection, or all sorts of crazy power generating or waste energy capturing mining sites. So we know that, but the outside world doesn't. And so for me, somewhere in this, there's an emote submission channel. Oh, see? Schmoogle knows what's up. Schmoogle is like the Vim OG. He streams every fucking day and is a very cool dude, so you should check him out. So for me, this week, and what kind of started this whole thing for me, and some of our topics actually on data collection, because we went sideways in the first bit of the show, was I have been working on greenifying my spaces. Now, thank you, kitty girl. That's right. We are coming up on almost 1 year of NFT Showroom, and we're really excited because we are going to have auctions and a bunch of really cool big features launched for the 1 year. And I think that's the big thing that's missing that is preventing us as NFT Showroom from really kind of competing on a bigger level. So there's some exciting stuff to come with that, but a lot of it means I have to get my goddamn butt in gear and deploy a lot of the code that I've been working on. So that's another thing, should we want to talk about it. But so for me, in the last week or so, a lot of what I've been working on outside of, and to try and help me get away from my computer a little bit, has been on working on my outdoor spaces. So I already have my goth garden in the front and my herb garden in the front, but I have a small space in the back, and I have been building planter boxes and kind of building spaces where I can grow some food items and, kind of supplement my fresh greens. And that's kind of been everything in my head. Has been woodworking, upgrading furniture with weird DIY stuff, and green spaces. And the reason that this sort of evolved into a topic for today's show was because the more that I look at items that you need to DIY greenifying your space, the more that data collection, whether it's Google, which I know Fox is gonna rah at me. Yeah, goth garden, you plant goth seeds to get little goths. No, Shadows Pub. When I inherited my place, and by inherited, I mean when I paid out the literal anus to get this house. Oh, look at that solo. Beautiful. Solo, those are some sexy peaches. Or are they apples? They look fuzzy. They're peaches. Look at them. Whatever they are, they're very sexual. They look delicious. But so... Listen, the goth garden is when I bought, yes, I'm growing tiny goth people, tiny little goths and letting them out in the world. No, when I bought this house, when I bought this townhouse, it had a very, very girly woman living here, and Lord love her. Her tastes certainly did not align with mine, and the front walk was all hot pink. Everything was hot pink, and it was all just very, 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 very pink. And for me, that is not my personal aesthetic. And so over the past couple years that I've been living here, I have been digging out plants by the root, giving them away to whomever might want them. And so I've replaced all the roses are now deep red climbing roses. All of the lilies that used to be hot pink are now black. I did. Oh, no. Ron is calling me out on my racism. I did. I have extreme prejudice against plants based on the color of their petals. I'm a plant racist. But so, yeah. So there's nothing wrong with pink. And yeah, Kitty Girl is the pinkest of fabulous ladies. But I prefer black. If you haven't figured that out yet, I prefer black. So all of the pink roses have been pulled out, replaced with red climbing roses. All of the pink lilies have been pulled out and have been replaced with black lilies or deep red lilies. All of my walks are trimmed with white flowers with blood red centers, or white flowers with black centers, or tiny little black flowers with white centers. So we call it the goth garden out front. Even the cordyline grasses are black grasses. They're not really black, but they're black. So it's black, white, and red. It's a little more me. So yes, it's my goth garden plant racism concern. Yeah, it's confirmed. I'm a plant racist. So there's that. What did you do to the plants you replaced? I dug them up tenderly and I gifted them to other people. Like my mom has my rose bushes because she really wanted them. They're big 4-foot tall rose bushes. Gave them to my mom. The lilies went to my friends. I would never just tear up a plant and throw it away. Okay? Listen. Yeah, bastards. Everybody's calling me out on this. You know, this is... yeah. Honestly. Yeah, exactly. My neighbors probably already think I sleep in a coffin. I'm fine with it. Acid doesn't believe me. So we were going somewhere with this. I've been building cedar planters. And so, of course, what it means is all of my searches have been going to websites, home improvement websites, gardening Lee Valley websites. I've been going to places to find, mulch or landscaping ties or, watering supplies, things like that, things that you would need for gardening. And of course, the way the magical internet works is not necessarily that Alexa is surreptitiously listening to you even though she's got you turned off or whatever. It's much simpler than that. And a lot of it comes down to location data. And location data works a little bit. It is. My hobby is collecting skulls. Bonus points when you combine the skulls and the plants. Focus. There you go. Bonus points when you combine the two of them. So, with that being said, location data, this is something that comes up a lot. And I find that the more I think about it and the more that I get asked about it, the more you... the more interesting it becomes. And it should be a simple thing that we all understand. And of course, we just don't think about it. And this is a lot like that Bitcoin energy argument. It's a lot like the things that we take for granted. We don't spend a lot of time thinking about it. Now, for those of us who have kind of started our journey down, well, we're reshaping our lives towards self-sovereignty or towards a little bit more freedom or whatever the case it may be. Whatever you're doing, here in this space, in this crypto space, in this tech space, whatever your personal journey is based on. We're starting to understand these networks better. Not just networks that are blockchains, but networks of how things work together. How banks obviously need incredible amounts of energy. How fiat structures rely on, these old entrenched infrastructures that are just as harmful, if not more harmful. And so it's always really interesting because we all know, but we don't think about day to day that, well, for every time we panic about Ethereum and how much, it's using energy-wise, what we don't want to think about is how much Netflix and their crazy content distribution network, their CDN and their infrastructure and their servers and their constant streaming globally and the power that they require. We don't want to think about that. Or Amazon, Amazon is actually creating its own, sidewalk mesh net. It's literally in the background planning to create an internet that doesn't require the internet. It's simply, that's how many devices that they have put out into the world is they can create their own alternative internet that doesn't require internet. And at the same time, think about how much Amazon web hosting services run. Think about these backbones to the internet. But you know what? It's Bitcoin we're worried about. Bitcoin is the one that's running the truck. I read it and that's bad. Bitcoin ran a truck for 16 days. And that's bad because trucks are bad. So we don't think about these things. We don't always collect a lot of this information, and we tend to just avoid thinking about the topics that are very inconvenient. That's pretty normal. So in this case, one of the things that we don't spend a lot of time yeah, exactly. Yes, you're right. And actually, Marky, that's a great point. And so a couple things. No, we are not panicking about Ethereum, but we're talking about the propensity of the normies right now, and they're being led by media that is telling them this. But yes, Amazon, as a side note, Amazon actually, this sidewalk mesh network, if you have Amazon devices, this is a very big mint engine. If you have Amazon devices, then you can absolutely opt out of Sidewalk if you want, but you do have, yes, exactly. Thank you, Dudis. You can opt out if you do not want to, participate. You know what? In some ways it's going to be useful, but at the same time, I'm personally not going to leave it on. There will probably be times if my internet's out that I will turn it on and I will use Amazon's internet, but we'll see. I don't know. We'll figure it out. You mean the token? Yeah, we could talk a little bit about that, but Proof of Brain is not kicking Hive's ass in the marketplace. Proof of Brain is built solely on Hive, and people have to use the token and create that market within the ecosystem of Hive. So Hive has to deal with the entire marketplace and the entire cryptosphere. Proof of Brain has to deal with inside of Hive. So what you're asking is, let's compare the Hive blockchain to 5,000 other cryptos as a totality. Let's compare that to Hive's ecosystem and all of the tokens inside of Hive. And all of the users who are using Proof of Brain are already Hive savvy and are using the Hive ecosystem. It's not comparable. There's not a lot of choices of Hive, tokens, and many of them have been created to go along with specific front ends or whatever. Trying to say, why is it so good and why is it priced higher than Hive? Well, because the market is incredibly small, easy to move, and it's priced in Hive. So in a lot of cases, people are excited to earn it and trade it in and out of Hive against Hive. It's not comparable. I hate to say it. So I don't know. I don't want to get on that topic. I don't care about Proof of Brain as a token or a front end. But I know in a lot of cases that it's a great niche for many of you, and hopefully they do cool things. But yeah, has nothing really to do with any particular sentiment in the crypto ecosystem. Nothing to do with that, and everything to do with how many people on Hive know about proof of brain and can directly interact with it in this ecosystem versus how many people in the entire crypto space know about Hive and directly interact with it? Those ratios, they're not the same. They're not in the same universe. They're not in the same, the same dimension. They're not on the same plane of time and space because time is a flat circle. I've forgotten what we were talking about. All right, so what we have been talking about, what we have been kind of roughly touching on today is a bunch of topics based in blockchain, energy use, nature, greening up your spaces. And it all comes from the fact that I've been planting more herbs and trying to grow more shit in my tiny, tiny green space behind my house. Yeah, everything's a bear me. Measure it all in bear me's and it all makes sense, right? So today is supposed to be a quiet show. It's supposed to be a chill show. There's a lot of you guys watching and listening, and we're super chill and wandering around all over the place. Autocrat's asking, isn't proof of brain supposed to be the act of curation? Yeah, that particular phrase was coined as part of how Hive's distribution would work. And the idea is simply that it is not the front end that is deciding what to show you in terms of an algorithm. It's not a computer deciding that. It is all of the brains, the people who are using the blockchain to distribute tokens around content that ultimately decides where rewards go and what content is raised to the top. That was the idea behind proof of brain. So, yeah, it's co-opted into a token, co-opted into a front end. It's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. Proof of brain in no way, shape, or form as an idea is new. And that's probably a hard thing to hear, but it's true. Reddit was doing it before, Steam or Hive was doing it. Old bulletin board systems were voting answers up and down before Reddit was doing it. We've always hoped that by consensus we could sort and evaluate things. We've always tried as a group to come to an agreement on things simply by sharing our opinions. So proof of brain, while it's something that Hive and people who work around the Hive blockchain are very familiar with, it's not in any way, shape, or form tied solely to Hive. So I'm sure you guys want to talk about this more. And Steam and Hive tokenize those upvotes. Yeah, absolutely, for sure. They gave proof of brain a new application, but they certainly didn't invent it. And so, yeah, we're kind of protective of it in this ecosystem because to us, it's a very logical way of attempting to distribute tokens. And you know what? It's actually really worked quite well. And, say what you will, lots of people flip their shit about Hive and Steam's distribution. But when you take a look, especially at a lot of the projects that are emerging, and you take a look at a lot of the things out there, our distribution is pretty great. And so that's nice. It's not perfect. It's far from perfect. But I will say there is a really marked difference between a distribution where almost anyone can get in and pick up a little bit and start helping influence where rewards go versus, say, something that is an ICO or whatever, a buy-in, a staking, a whatever. And we're going to totally get caught in that topic. So if you guys don't mind, let's kind of swing back around. I will find a quick track to play. And then I will show you guys just some cool options out there, because way back in the day I kickstarted something called Click and Grow, and their company has become huge and there's lots of companies like them. So I thought, let's look at some cool plant energy, future indoor growing tech. If you guys want, we could talk a little bit more about energy and FUD and the intersect between nature and feature tech if you want. Or we can continue to shoot the shit about whatever makes you guys happy. My name is Crimsonclad, and on Saturday mornings, this is what we do. We hang out together, plant synthwave. You know what? If I had actually done some prep today, I guarantee you I could have found you a whole playlist of synthwave music that was naturally derived and sort of had a great flow with today's show. However, the idea was today's show was supposed to say super small and nobody knew. Yeah, proof of grow. Nobody was supposed to know that there was a show today, and we were going to keep it super chill. And I did not do any planning or any prep and did absolutely out there. Plant wave. Oh, there you go. Now, if I had to guess, that is probably music that helps plants grow. Yeah, there you go. There. So this is cool. This is a perfect example, Marky. So we'll take a look at this after I play some music, and we will talk about weird, cool technology to do with plants. How does anybody not know there's a show? Well, here's the thing, Marky, and I'll say this before we kind of play music. I am really bad at marketing myself, and I'm really, really bad about feeling comfortable of like tooting my own horn. What's the right? I don't like telling people that I'm good at stuff. It's uncomfortable, but I feel like I'm good at stuff. Oh my God, Inertia, I'm going to murder you. I'm really good at stuff. I'm a really good radio broadcaster. I'm really interested and passionate about a lot of these projects. I build really cool stuff. I am really good at teaching people. But it makes me feel sick. No, self-advocacy is different, I think. And I'm okay at self-advocacy. But anyways, it makes me feel sick to like go out there and be like, come here, come to my show, it's awesome. And so what that has basically done is it makes me very uncomfortable marketing myself, which means if you don't market yourself, you don't grow. And if you don't grow, then you can't offer better services. And so it's this weird cycle that I, like you guys, you come here every week. We have these really valuable, fun, interesting community conversations. And I sit here comfortably and don't want to do more than that. So I do. It's just a matter of finding what's comfortable and what works for me. And in a lot of cases, it's time and help. And so I have actually been putting it out there in my recent posts that I am looking for some help in trying to manage and create content that's more consumable, that will bring people every week. But the idea of pinging you guys or like sending you a message and being like, I'm live, come see, feels ooky. It feels ooky. All right, so let's do some music. And we'll come back and we'll look at some of these crazy, fun, weird plant tech stuff. And we'll talk a little bit more about bringing that into your house. And of course, we can talk more about what's going on with blockchain and, life, the universe, and everything that we do on this show. My name is Crimsonclad. It's CyberBuzz Radio. It is what it is. I want to play something something new by Waveshaper. I really like Waveshaper. And so I'm going to play you a new track. And so I'm going to play a new track that's called 33 megahertz. And there's 33 megahertz is a very common number in the PC world and in a lot of things like semiconductors and clock oscillators and just it's 33 megahertz is a frequency that comes up very frequently in the tech space. And so Waveshaper's just released a track called 33 megahertz. It's a good one. I'm going to pop it in here. We're going to listen to that, and then we'll come back and we'll chat a little bit more for the second half of the show. There's still about an hour left. So if you got something you want to talk about, if you want to tell me I suck, if you want to show me your plants, it's a perfect day to do it here on CyberBuzz Radio. not actually me typing. All right, there you go. New stuff from Wave Shaper, another sort of long-termer in the synthwave scene, and great music, good stuff, like this cool, chill 80s vibe, but also, you know, a little 8-bitty in the background. So, hey, my name... Crim would have a million. Oh, God, whatever. Listen, I'm happy with you guys. And I do know that every week Ron is always like, he always makes fun of me when I say I'm hemorrhaging listeners. But it does happen where I usually say something and then I'll see down on the screen, because I keep all of the listener numbers on the screen. I'll see like 6 or 7 people just, which, you know what? That makes sense to me. It does. So we were going to talk a little bit about nature tech. Yeah, it wasn't Aggie typing either. I mean, I could, but yeah, no, part of the track. So, hey, welcome to CyberBuzz. We're in the back half. We're in the back half of the show. I'm in your back half. In the back half of the show. And we've covered a lot of topics today, a lot of random topics, because today was and is kind of this chill. You're going to get Evan Townsend to live it in. You know, he has been doing some really cool streams. And actually, for Full Force Radio this week, he has just released a new track with Sepultura that's a killer. So, yeah, definitely going to do some Devin Townsend this week. But so here's the deal. We've meandered through a lot of topics today, and we started the show talking a little bit about future design, as we always come back to that beautiful white gleaming space citadel in the sky. But how often when we think of the future and we think of the perfect future design and what we would like, what we would like from our future, it's often beautiful, perfect, managed gardens assisted by tech in these clean, gleaming, bright, Spartan spaces. And we want simplicity and, you know, these bright, open areas. Yeah, the future is RGB, that too. We want these spaces that are open, that are communal, but that have, you know, technology built in, but we also want them to be clean and aesthetic and lots of plants and, you know, but also organized. Like, it's interesting how a lot of our future design, and think about sort of all of the very, Apple-esque or, you know, kind of positive renderings of future. Let's move aside from a second from the sort of gritty tech noir retro future of Blade Runner or the dystopian future. Move away from those. Those are dirty concrete and no plants and lots of, you know, chemicals and holograms and whatever. There's that sort of version of future design. But there is a version of future design that we tend to think of as positive, and that is always very much like the Apple Store, except there are no geniuses and no Apple products, and thank God for that. Everything is white, everything is trees growing inside atriums, you know, and all of the walkways indoors are lined with tinkling streams and flowers. And so we're moving towards this, where you see a lot of sort of contemporary design in homes brings a lot of nature inside. And we're trying to make up for the fact that obviously we're losing our ability. I always say nice things about you. We're losing our ability to, you know, often connect with space outside. But we're houseplants ourselves. We're creatures that crave the natural space. And so one of the things that's been sort of on my mind this week is a lot of technology is being created to help bring plants indoors easier. Now, there are people with green thumbs. I like to think I'm one of those. There are people with black thumbs who, you know, someone gives you an unkillable plant and you look at it and it's just like, that happens. I mean, you know, plants have needs. Tinkle streams. I'm sorry. Yeah, this is going like into the weird ASMR spaces, right? But so there are some people who can't keep a plant alive if their life depended on it, and that's totally fine. Some people's priorities are not, you know, watching and listening to a plant and its needs and babying it to make sure that it's okay, and that's fine. But there are a lot of cool and interesting devices being created to bring this kind of thing into our house. And so this is something that I've been noticing a lot in the last couple weeks. And I find it really interesting because hydroponic gardening is a topic that comes up on Meadows and Makers Making Stuff, the show before mine today. If you don't know what that is, go to mspwaves.com/schedule, check it out. But he often talks about hydroponic gardening, and Solo is very much into this sort of sustainable gardening and ways of sort of growing more intelligently. But one of the things that makes hydroponic gardening really useful is it's easy to do indoors. And for a lot of people, you'll see a lot of DIYs for this. If you're on the internet long enough, Shadows Pup says, silk plants survive very well in your house. How are your cats with plants? I don't have cats. My dog does not eat my plants. I've never had to think about that. But I've got a lot of friends who have cats where if they put a plant out, the cat will just be like, fuck your plant. And either shred it or eat it or knock it off. But yeah, permaculture, hydroponics, aeroponics, all sorts of cool stuff. And so there are lots of, hey Mariano, you're experimenting with aquaponics. Very cool. I'm glad to hear it. So in general, if you spend any time on the internet, you will see there are these DIY things. You know, a lot of them are PVC pipes. You run water through the pipes. You just kind of plug plants in. We're moving away from the need for dirt because it's messy, it's difficult, it's a pain in the ass. And so a lot of what has been kind of coming across my consciousness recently are basically units for vertical gardening inside the house, because we're suddenly at the space where we can create really thin, really powerful LED lights and LED full spectrum grow lights. And I feel like that might be one of the biggest changes that technology has made in a way. Now, see, if I had a cat that was doing that to my Monstera, oh my God, cat would be out. I have a Monstera in my bedroom and a Monstera in my living room, actually. But so one of the biggest changes is lighting doesn't require insane amounts of energy or big, huge housing anymore. And so what we're starting to see is a lot of these really aesthetic, beautiful vertical gardens, because we don't have a lot of spaces in our home anymore. These nice... She keeps you perpetually guessing, so you seek validation. What the hell are you talking about? I constantly compliment people, and when somebody does something good, I tell them, because I know I like it when people say nice things to me. So when people are good at what they do, I don't hold that back. That's crappy. It's like I was saying that Schmoogle earlier is a super cool guy, or when I tell you guys that I like your content, or Marky came on to help out on the show, or Ron deserves a bunch of props because he runs MSP Waves, or Kitty Girl is so helpful. What the hell? What are you talking about? I love complimenting people. It's fun. Say something nice about Swoop? Yeah, that's not hard. Look at his passion and his energy and his hustle. He creates art and he forces other people to think about art and enjoy art. He's great at that. So God damn it, all of you guys suck. I like complimenting you, and you're gonna like getting complimented, you dinks. Dinks. What were we talking about? Plants. Vertical gardens. Technology-aided vertical gardens. We don't have a lot of spaces in our house, and we don't have necessarily a lot of ability to run big, hot, crazy lighting. And so there are a lot of companies now that are doing vertical gardening, that are doing indoor gardens. And one that I saw the other day, it's ridiculously expensive, just stupidly expensive. But they look beautiful. And so these things are starting to get shoved into my feed all the time now. I have now officially broken all of the algorithms to show me like plant stuff. And so there's a couple out there. Like there's a company called Just Vertical, and they've basically found a way to make you put Arduino tech in your aquarium. It's really interesting. Cool. Yeah. And actually I drilled a hole in the cover of my aquarium, and I'm growing a bunch of propagated pothos. So this guy behind me, you can't tell, but this guy here is a pothos. They grow like stink. They're super easy. You can grow them in water. You can grow them in dirt. You could grow them on the side of the road. You could, whatever. They'll grow anywhere. So every time he gets too big, I lop off one of his long tendrils, and I pop it in water till a couple roots grow. It's usually a couple days, and then I put it somewhere else. Well, my fish tank, I have 4 or 5 big tendrils of pothos growing out of my fish tank. And, they're super healthy because fish poop, plants like fish poop, and my fish like plants. And so there you go. But yeah, so vertical gardening has just become this crazy thing that we can do better now because our manufacturing and the tech that we have available is really good. And so what we're starting to see is, instead of just, I've got this small pump and a reservoir and a piece of PVC pipe that I drilled holes in, you're seeing companies that are finding ways to add good design to this, future design, that clean, sleek, beautiful aesthetic that blends these things that we want into our homes. And so there's a company called Just Vertical who creates a bunch of different options for this. And there are a lot of companies that are pursuing this. And so I'll show you just this one because it's quite interesting, because they're all starting to look the same again. Here you go. I'll drop this in chat. It's beautiful. Reservoir is hidden in a mid-century modern style wood cover. The vertical aspect is white and sleek, and yes, I need to drink. These are incredibly prohibitive. Okay, I'm just gonna chug a bunch of my mint and gin. If I start slurring before the end of the show, it's John's fault. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna level up on Pog Pimpin' as well. But yeah, so what things that you can produce yourself at a low cost, you can now buy very expensively, but with beautiful design. So yeah, this is one. It's a company called Just Vertical, and they do these really incredible, beautiful pieces that hide the reservoir in furniture, that are very slim, that include, flat panel LED lighting, that hide the channels that the water circulates in. And so all the parts about gardening that just don't look nice enough, or they're hard because I don't want to remember to water plants. Well, you can hook all this stuff up to your phone now. You can buy these kits. And so for me, this has been a really interesting thing because I'm never going to drop that much money. You'd be nice, you don't like indoor gardens. That's fine. It doesn't matter. I mean, I don't know that I would choose an indoor garden over an outdoor garden. But the reality is we are moving to a point in sort of, especially urban human history, where not everybody can buy land. Not everybody has a lawn. There are a lot of people in condominiums or high density housing or whatever the case may be, where an indoor garden is the only chance that they have for gardening. So, it's not necessarily about preferring it, but it's about how do you overcome some of these obstacles and how do you do it with tech. So yeah, there's that company, and there's a lot of these now that to me all kind of have a similar look, but that are really starting to take off. And it's quite interesting to see how many of these sort of high-tech, app-assisted, light-managed grow gardens there are. And there are a lot. There are a lot. And some of them are as simple as tiny little desktop ones where you have an app that you remember to turn on and off the light, to these massive wall-sized ones that are art installations that have entire programs to help you manage nutrient dispersal and things like that. It's kind of fascinating. It would be. And yeah, you're right. Marky's got some points too. For those of you who might be interested in this, pests aren't exactly the same problem indoors as they would be outdoors. Having to use pesticides or chemicals that you might have to use outdoors, you don't necessarily have to worry about indoors. So, pros and cons. I'm not here to tell you what's good for you. I think you should have more plants in your life. That's all I'm saying. And I find this is a really interesting topic, especially because we love in the blockchain space to remind each other that everything we do is murdering planet Earth all the time, and that all we got to do is stop using blockchain and the planet will be saved. You'd love an indoor strawberry garden. Yeah, man. So look at something like Click and Grow, or look at, some of these really simple hydroponic DIY solutions. You are a techie guy, Marky. I swear, you could build some cool Arduino powered, water circulating hydroponic solutions. I guarantee you it would be cool. All right. So listen, we're coming down to the very last bit of the show. We have about half an hour left. We've kind of wandered off track. Today has been kind of a plant day, kind of a blockchain day, all of a super chill chat day. And we've talked a little bit about FUD, and we've talked a lot about plants, and we've talked about future design, and we've kind of meandered from here to there and everywhere in between. And yeah, Soundwaves is saying, someone said my art is destroying the planet. This is 1,000% where we started the show. Can you mention why vote trading is bad? I mean, I guess, yeah. We could talk a little bit about that if you want. Let's just see. More people doing indoor grows is great for creating false positives for law enforcement. Yeah, I would actually agree with that. Now, here in Canada, here in BC, you can actually grow up to, I believe it's 4 plants for yourself at all times. And you will see it. It's a really common thing. If you walk in, residential neighborhoods and whatnot, you'll see, windows at night lit up by full spectrum grow lights. It's really common. So for me, I don't really think about it the same way as people other places in the world would. But you're right. There are a lot of people who, especially in the US, or places where weed is still a very contentious thing, that, yeah, everybody should be using these things to grow whatever they want. And it makes it more and more difficult for law enforcement to try and single you out based on these types of things. Yeah, there's cool. Mariano's just shared something in the Discord, which is not just growing your plants vertically, but to also have the aquaponics and the aquarium integrated into the whole ecosystem, which is really cool. Yeah, exactly, Mr. D. So yeah, I mean, in Canada, we don't think of it quite the same. I've lived in Vancouver my whole life. Weed here, even if, like, when it was illegal, if you walked past the cop smoking a joint, they'd kind of look at you and be like, and you'd kind of stub it out and pretend to put it in your pocket, and you'd go 10 more feet and you'd smoke your joint again. Weed in Canada has always been sort of part of the culture of the country. What can I say? Or at least it has in my generation. But I know that it's still a really big deal in parts of the States and other parts of the world, which is insane to me. Completely insane. So I don't have great contextual, knowledge on it. But I agree. Anything that messes up law enforcement so that they can't just get out there and make snap judgments based on, reading your electricity bills is A-okay. So where we started today's show, and where we were kind of starting a lot of the topics that we are kind of wandering through today, was actually because we were talking a little bit about some of the FUD, and we were talking about how the blockchain space and energy usage has been such a hot point. And Elon's been mentioning it because who gives a shit about what Elon thinks? But he is a market indicator, and, people freak out. And he's certainly had some real impacts over this last bull run, talking about energy. And so we've got a lot of these aspects that are happening. Artists are being told by people who never would have paid attention to their art before if it wasn't in the crypto space and wasn't becoming sort of newsworthy. People who would never pay attention to art are turning around and being like, your art is murdering the planet. Your Bitcoin is killing us all. It's this strange, interesting, random place that we've found ourselves in, and it's sort of where the start of the show came up. So that's interesting. You 4 plants for household, but you can't grow them indoor. That's dumb. So as long as they can see your plants are okay. Smart guy talking makes the wannabe smarts feel smart. Yeah, I would agree with that. But one of the things that I find really interesting is a lot of crossover tech spaces are feeling this very strongly. And it's something that I actually am really surprised by. And so one of the things is a lot of sort of my mutual space is the development community. A lot of video game development or software development, people who essentially create software, or who work on the tech sphere, but who aren't necessarily in the blockchain space or the crypto space yet. These are people who are incredibly intelligent. These are people who are incredibly passionate about disruptive technology. These are people who, knowingly or unknowingly, are part of a really entrenched infrastructure that uses a lot of energy. And yet, these are some of the most vocal detractors against NFTs or against blockchain or against energy usage in the crypto space. And I haven't 100% yet been able to figure out why that is. A lot of people who embrace disruptive technology, a lot of devs or tech-centric people who really want a Tesla or who love electric cars or who are, creating an app to help you manage the heat in your house to be more efficient, can't wrap their head around the fact that maybe, just maybe, Bitcoin and, ETH and NFTs and the crypto space is not as much of a problem. I don't know how to say this right, because some people are going to say, well, of course it's a problem. You have to be realistic. And it's true, you do. But whataboutism never solves a problem. And I think that's the largest sort of thing that we have to, it's the largest hump, is the biggest hump we got right now. It's the hump we have to get over. Is that it's very easy to say, well, it's fine because look at this other thing. And that's not a great answer in any argument. Whataboutism doesn't work. And so it's a problem because a lot of the time right now, it's very easy to say, well, here's blockchain and here is sort of the legacy banking system. Look at the energy used by that. Look at the energy used by this. And we're caught in the middle where a lot of intelligent people can't see the shift from one place to the other. They can't figure out, well, they say, well, yeah, the legacy banking system, it uses so much energy and that's bad, but everybody in the world needs a bank. And so it's hard to rationalize that shift from, but do we need a bank that exists in a physical location that requires a fleet of physical paper fiat moving vehicles that needs a physical set of fluorescent lights on every block corner that also needs when you start looking at sort of all of the offshoots from that problem, the whataboutism can really roll you over real quick. And having fun. Yeah, who will build the roads? I know, inertia. I know. Yeah. Shadows Pub with some sick Bruce Lee, dropping some sick Bruce Lee knowledge on us. When you're pointing fingers, 4 of them are pointed back at you. So you always got to be thinking about it. But the reality is you can be concerned in one area and be completely right when you do your whataboutism. And it doesn't negate that we have to have these discussions. So it's an interesting time right now. And I think if we stick it out and we keep saying, yeah, well, I can tell you why this whole my NFT cost the equivalent of jumbo jets. Jumbo jets lighting 62 billion cigarettes out of their, exhaust or whatever is going to be the only way to get this done. When we point back to legacy structures, people don't want to compare. Crim, do you need a logo? No, my dear, I don't. I have fucking awesome logos, but thank you. I appreciate it. All right, so we're in the weeds again. We've completely meandered off track. What else is new? My name is Crimsonclad. We got about half an hour left in the show. CyberBuzz Radio, it's somewhere between an entertainment live stream. Many of you guys watch it or listen to it live. It's kind of a podcast. It's kind of a radio broadcast. Some of you don't even realize there's video, and I don't care if you don't, because you're not missing anything. All of these fabulous things come together in the less fabulous thing that is CyberBuzz. But hopefully it's a good time for you. I'm here every Saturday, and we talk about retro future tech, blockchain. We talk about the 80s sort of tech noir aesthetic and the future design that influences what we're creating, what we're using, what we're loving, how we're adapting. And then I play some synthwave to go along with all of it. In general, every week is kind of like this week. It's a little unprepared. It's a lot off the cuff. It's a lot of theoretical discussion and back and forth between you guys and me. And hopefully it entertains you just a little bit. Last week we were very Hive-centric. This week we are not Hive-centric at all. Next week, who the fuck knows? But I am going to play you guys a little bit more music because we've only played 2 tracks today. And I'm trying to see if I put aside any other tracks that I wanted to play from you, or if I got to pick something new. And I think I got to pick something a little bit new. So let me see. Who did I promise to play for you this week? I said I was going to play some L'avenue. I said I was going to play, let's just see here if I could find, there we go. Let me grab something. I'm going to play a single from L'Avenue called Business Talk, since that's exactly what we're doing here today. It's super 80s, and my name is Crimsonclad. We're just in the full positivity synth jam this week. We're not necessarily in the dystopian retro future. This week is all about big shoulder pads and ombre sunsets and digital palm trees, and everybody's got a Lambo for sure. We'll be here for another half an hour. We'll talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. I know a lot of topics have come up kind of around the Hive blockchain. You guys have been asking questions. There have been some comments. So we might move into some of those for the last little bit of the show. But for now, I will play a little bit of music and we will be right back for CyberBuzz Radio. There you go, Lavenu, a track called Business Talk. My name is Crimsonclad, and we are in the last little bit of CyberBuzz Radio today. So, hey, I was trying to keep it a little chill. I did not fire any of the notifications. I didn't tweet. I didn't tell anybody about the show, but a bunch of you showed up anyways. And for that, I will forever be grateful. You make the show fun, and hopefully you are mildly entertained every week as we kind of bounce from topic. We move from topic to topic and tackle a bunch of random shit in this space. And so during that break there, it's cute. During that break there, Soundwave's Photon leveled up, and of course it is always important for me to take a drink on a level up in my chat. And Soundwave's Photon leveled up on the statement that selling drugs doesn't hurt the environment. What a level. What a level. It's a lot to unpack there. I'm running out of mint and gin. Well, I've got a lot of mint in here. Like I say, if you've ever grown mint, it is a fabulous herb. It's good for settling your stomach. You can make tea. You can chew it, a little bit of it when your breath is bad. You can, it goes in everything. I put it in my tomato sauce, and it's delicious. Long story short, mint gets out of control really, really quickly. You think like, oh, I'll have this tiny little mint plant, and I will eat mint whenever And 2 days later, your entire house is wreathed in mint, and you've put it in everything, and you're selling it on the side of the road, hoping to get it under control. And 3 months from now, your entire house will be mint, and you will be living in the forest instead. But I will say, man, oh man, everything should be alcoholic and minty. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. So for Swoop, I'm going to try and put down a lot more gin. Okay, so where were we going before things? You haven't had alcohol 1.5 years. Hey, congrats. Good job. I love minty chocolate. Minty chocolate's delicious. I like orangey chocolate too. These are things that trigger a lot of people. I also like pineapple on pizza. Go fuck yourself. I don't care. Don't come for me today. So we have talked about a lot of stuff over the course of the show. And we started the whole show talking a little bit about FUD. And so one of the things, Crim made me sound like an alcoholic. I don't know. There's lots of people who decide to, I feel good. There are a lot of people who just decide to cut alcohol out of their diet. And you know what? Alcohol, in moderation, is fine for you. But lots of alcohol, it's not good for you. So drink it when you enjoy it. Be mindful of your health. If you decide to cut it out of your diet, then great. Good for you. It's a lot of willpower. Great job. What did I say? I like to say nice things to you people. Just shut up and take it. So with the last little bit of the show, I guess what we could talk about is, of course, the world is watching the Bitcoin conference in Miami. And it's been quite of an interesting, it wasn't a congrats moment. I don't know. Okay, no congrats. Haha, Acid's a loser and doesn't drink alcohol. Nah, loser. So we can talk a little bit about this because one of the topics that came up, and I'm going to do some reaching out because this morning I saw Betamax and I saw, who else was there? FM Attack, another one of the artists that I want to play today, if we can get some time in. A bunch of synthwave artists were talking a little bit about shadow banning and we're talking about inorganic reach. And of course, I'm going to use this opportunity to kind of slide on into the DMs because I'd like to talk to them about trying to create a space and a community where they can, talk about what they do and what they love and try and, grow a following and, pull that back towards bringing their community together. Obviously, that's a big, important thing for me. It's part of where this show and all of my interest in the space has come from. But the reason that I was thinking about this is because a lot of people have been mentioning in social media right now some of the censorship issues that are out there. And one of the things that's making waves in Bitcoin Twitter or in the crypto Twitter space or whatever is at Bitcoin conference, Jack, the Twitter homeless leader, he's looking ragged these days. But he showed up to do a speech, and what's her name? Laura Loomer? I don't know. She was banned from Twitter. She wanted to do some political stuff. I don't know much about her, and I don't care. But she showed up at the conference, and she started yelling at Jack about censorship and banning, and she started hooting and hollering about civil rights violations, human rights violations, and how censorship on Twitter is a real problem. He looks like a mage. Yeah, you know what? You're right. You're absolutely right. He looks like a mage, but he also kind of looks like maybe he's like a nature mage. Like, he should probably just be wearing like a burlap robe and like in a fucking hut somewhere, also growing plants, since that's the theme of the day. He's a very just letting it all go. As rich people are wont to do. But so yeah, there is yeah, I know, Acid. So there's a lot of talk about this. Laura compares her banning to Holocaust. Yeah. And Laura is not a nature mage. Exactly. Edicted wouldn't know anything about that, right? Look at that profile. He's a red mage. Is he a druid or a shaman? I am going to say he's a shaman, because I feel like he is not so much in tune with nature. I'm going straight down the shaman, like crazy voodoo kind of, a little less in tune with nature itself and a little more in tune with the sort of magical constructs, if that makes sense. But long story short, I don't particularly care about Laura Loomer. So don't take this as me either being on... No, he's a red mage. Let me kind of put this as a caveat out there before we get too far into anything. I truly do not care about her. And honestly, everything I've heard from her is completely obnoxious. But I will say, it's a pretty big balls move to run into a conference and start, hooting at him about censorship. And the reason that this kind of matters is, doesn't matter how you feel about traditional social media platforms, about Twitter. This is something that a lot of people are watching, and even normies are seeing this line up down the street, because you know what? Conferences are cool, and everybody's like, oh, those fucking Bitcoin nerds, and no. But, the idea of a conference is amazing, because it is always a celebration. It's always a sharing of knowledge. It's always an interesting time. And so for me, I love seeing how many people went to Miami. I love seeing these long lineups. I love seeing normies going by and being like, what's that? Like, these are the things that get people interested in this space. And so whether or not we like Laura Loomer, whether or not we like Twitter, whether or not we like Bitcoin, this sort of meeting of all these things in one is newsworthy enough that people are paying attention. People are like, oh, she went there and she yelled at the Twitter guy, and the Twitter guy, he responded about censorship, and they were all at this place, and there was a lineup outside for kilometers, and people are talking about it. And so this is fascinating. This is fascinating to me, because everybody has an opinion on this. Everybody's got an opinion anyways, but everybody's got an opinion on this specific thing. And it's very interesting to see the takes. There are a lot of people who believe that Jack should 1,000% be called out on what should and should not be allowed on Twitter. And there are a lot of people who think this broad should be told to shut up in a public venue. And I find this really interesting. So I'm curious to know, did you hear about this? What? Didn't Block Trades apparently say that he didn't want right-leaning people that were canceled? No, Block Trades definitely never said that, Autocrat. Hey, wow, Niles here. I haven't seen you in ages. I hope you're doing well, man. He definitely didn't say that. I think maybe this is a good topic to touch on for the end of the show, since we only have 15 minutes, and things always get a little weird in this space. Here's the reality. There are always going to be very strong opinions on if somebody was perma-banned from somewhere else, if somebody was removed from traditional social media, the majority of people are going to go, well, there was a reason for it. I don't want them around. They were obviously removed for some reason, and I don't like that, and I don't want them around me if that's negativity. And so there is this really tricky spot that truly decentralized media is in, because it is the perfect place to welcome people who have been deplatformed. It is the perfect place to say, hey, if you've got something to say and you really need to say it, here is a set of tools that will help you amplify your voice. And, you're still going to have to deal with all the consequences of what you say. If you are being an asshole, if people don't like what you say, if it's not sort of something that promotes positive discussion, then you're going to find more and more and more avenues closed to you. But decentralized social media or decentralized social options like Hive and like a blockchain that focuses on this, exactly, now you show up and then everybody calls you an Irish fucker. The reality becomes, front ends that exist and popular things like that can still say, hey, you're a dick. And we don't want you either. And you have to work a little bit harder and a little bit harder. And every time you force yourself into a situation by saying what you need to with free speech, by doing what you've done that's had you deplatformed, there's an excellent chance that more people in that decentralized community will say, well, we don't want to listen to you either. And so it doesn't necessarily mean that you suddenly get invited to be shitty. And that's a part that I think I gotta drink again. Fuck me. One sec. I have to steel myself. It's not that I don't like this. It's just I don't like this much, this quick. Whew. 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 All right. Here's your ASMR. Whew. But so the reason I bring this up is this is going to become something problematic. This is going to become something problematic, and it's part of that whole, how do we sell this experience? And that is, well, all decentralized social media just goes out and they invite shitty people. They invite criminals. They invite hate speech. They invite people like Laura Loomer, who's a complete, functioning artard that... she wants to compare her banning off Twitter for being a jerk to the Holocaust. What an asshole. We don't want her either. And that is going to be the hardest thing, and it's already been the hardest thing. And I know this because at one point, when Trump was deplatformed off Twitter, I went to the Hive Twitter and I said, hey, let's put out a message that people can use Hive. They can decide to use Hive if they want. And their journey may not be easy, but they have the options. Let's see how badly they want this free speech. Let's see how badly this actually matters to them. There are opportunities for them to get their message out there. But the reality is they're going to have to suffer all of the consequences that come with continually pushing a bad message, if that's what it is. And a lot of people immediately, oh my God, that's not real, Swoop. That's not real. Don't do this. It's not real. It's been a while since you've tried that. But so this is interesting to me, and I'm kind of with you, Autocrat, and for, a lot of people, we're starting to lose people towards the end of the show here. You jerks. It's fake! That's fake news. I'm deplatforming you. Don't make me ban you because we're on a centralized Discord server, you fucks. It's fake news. Bye, Fox. So the reality is I agree, and I've said this, my personal kind of vision around this is decentralized social media isn't just a free-for-all. It isn't just give us everybody controversial and cram them on here because, then people will come to gawk. No, the reality is the most important thing to me. I didn't say I'm hemorrhaging, listeners. I only dropped like 4 people on YouTube. That's not bad. That's not as bad as normal. I'm gonna say it's because I used an offensive word. But so here's the dealio. Tool sets matter. Granularity matters. Personal control matters. How does a decentralized space welcome you and give you the tools you need to either amplify your voice to the people who want to hear it, or to shape what you are coming to hear and follow without having the medium decide for you? And that's the real crux of it, is how do we do that? Because those two groups don't necessarily want to interact. You've got somebody who has been deplatformed from everywhere because their message is not positive, or it threatens people in power, or whatever. Somebody's been deplatformed, and they need a set of tools that allows people who directly want to communicate with them to congregate and speak that message and communicate. Okay, there's that tool set. But they've already been ejected from, the majority of social communications. So we know a majority of people don't want to hear them at all. So wherever they go and these tools are provided to them, there also need to be tools for the people who are like, fuck those guys. And that's kind of right now the part that we are missing, or the part it's difficult to take out to the real world, the normies, and say, yeah, well, yes, we do indeed say, hey, if you've been deplatformed, or you've got a message that's being repressed somewhere else, or whatever the case may be, Hive is a great answer for you. It's censorship resistant and it's immutable. So nobody will memory hole what you say here. Nobody will cancel you forever. And if worse comes to worse, if, every front end or an app decides we're going to not help you promote, then you can still go back to that central blockchain, that database, pull your information. People can still go get it. You can build off it yourself. There will always be that next level option where if you want it badly enough, you can use these tools. There's that aspect. The flip side is, everybody else around here feels like, okay, well, if decentralized media exists, they're just inviting all of the people that I don't like, so I don't want to be there. And that is tricky. Yes, Schmoogle, a great point. Getting people to understand that they have the responsibility is such a pain. Bingo, bango, bongo. That is a crimism. Personal responsibility. My claps suck in this shirt. Personal responsibility. That is the hardest part, and it's been what's been removed for us. Ease of use and intuitive social media that's algorithm controlled, that understands and learns what we like, pre-filters things for us, builds a feed without necessarily our active input to make things better and nicer and more what we want. That's great. But at the same time, decentralized media gives things back. I look really nice. Oh, thank you. I did not brush my hair, which means it looks curly because I didn't brush it. That's how today's going. And so this is the hardest part, I agree, is you have all the power. We're so used in social media as time has gone on that with each sort of iteration of helping make a better experience, we give up a little bit more responsibility. We say, you know what? Yeah, the algorithm is going to take out the bad shit. The blank is going to I'm not going to see it. And so we give up a little bit of that autonomy in the hopes that our experience is better. It's hard to come from that mindset back to a place like Hive where it is, that's fine. You don't have to see any of this. You don't have to interact with any of this, but it's your responsibility, blacklists, mute, to pick the front end that you like best, to, build a feed. You got to go out and follow people that will present stuff that you like, or check out communities. And that sort of return to, I have to work a little bit to create the feed that I want to see. That's tricky. That's really tricky. It shouldn't be, but it is. And it's fascinating. So right now we definitely have to kind of help the people who see decentralized social media as like, what is it? A basket of deplorables? Is that terminology that's relevant in the political sphere? I don't know. I try to tune out a lot of what gets said in the US because, Canada's already a clown show. I just can't with you, US. I can't. But that's what happened to, say, like Parler or some of the other ones that really tried to fucking ride that hype train. The censorship hype train, just ride it as hard as they could. Well, here's the reality. Everybody attacked Parler, and they're like, well, anybody on Parler is a piece of shit, obviously, and that was easy for the majority to be like, well, anybody who went there, that person, ugh, gross, ugh, yuck. So how do you join these two ideas? And that's going to be interesting because the first sort of group to really handle that is going to be the one that starts gaining critical mass. Because that's the hardest part, is if you are welcoming of people who in general have been deplatformed elsewhere because the community doesn't like them, how do you get all those people that are in that community to follow? They just got rid of this person they don't like. You think they're going to come here too after? No, of course not. And so it's really easy that by welcoming some people, you're alienating others, even though that really shouldn't be the case. So I'm with a lot of you, and a lot of the discussion that we've had is you have to think of Hive as a network, as an ecosystem, as a larger space. And everybody can move inside that space, and they can spend time in different venues, and they don't have to interact. And that's going to be the biggest, most important thing. And that's where we're at right now, is we're starting to see more and more front ends. Peak D and ESency are these fabulous customizable front ends that really allow you to be social and to have a lot of granularity around that social experience. But it's also growing beyond that. Well, maybe I don't want to listen to political ranting all day, but I do really want to make friends and I want to play card games. And man, oh man, Splinterlands is where it's at. Or, you know what? No, I'm an artist and I want to have provenance over my work, and I want to build a community where I know that Instagram won't ban me because my artwork depicts something that is uncomfortable. No, I'm going to use NFT Showroom. And so all of a sudden, our ecosystem is starting. That Web 3.0 aspect, like Shmugel's saying, is starting to overcome that difficult part of the narrative, which is Web 3.0 or decentralized social media gives a home to people I don't like. That's the crux of it right now, is, well, people I don't like are there. And if I go there, then I'm going to have to deal with people I don't like. We are tribal at heart, and we talk about that on the show a lot. We are tribal whether we like it or not. For a long time, Hive was really, or Hive or Steam, the legacy code base, whatever you want to call it, this type of blockchain, this type of network was really about everybody coming and blogging and being contained in that same pool. And it's not that anymore. And I think the more that we really underline that for people is, yeah, everyone can come here, but you're in control. And giving them the tools for that is the part that matters. And that's the only narrative that's going to work. It's the only thing that's going to stick in people's heads is, if people I don't like are there, why will I come there? How do you get around it? All right. So, wow, did we ever get off track? We are here. We have hit the end of the show. My name is Crimsonclad. This is CyberBuzz Radio. We started out talking about plants and Bitcoin and green things, and we ended up talking about the foibles of society. The reality is, I'll be back next week, but for today, CyberBuzz Radio is over, and I am done. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Check out the schedule for more.